One man, one mission, to rid the world of chronic anxiety once and for all. The Anxiety Guy, Dennis Simsek, shares his personal transformation from living a life filled with overwhelming worry to becoming a full-fledged positivity machine, a leading authority in generalized anxiety. Dennis gets to the truth of your mental health challenges and sets you on a path to transforming each and every area of your life. Here he is, the one and only, the Anxiety Guy.
Welcome to episode number 43 of the Anxiety Guy podcast. I'm Dennis Simsek, and I want to truly give a huge hug and thank you to everyone out there for making us number one in the health category on iTunes. Guys, head over to Twitter like the_anxiety_guy at Twitter, and you will be getting a ton of practical, inspirational tools to overcome your health anxiety starting today. Now, today we're talking about habits. We're talking about mental health, and we're talking about what kind of habits I did to improve my mental health. And I mean, not even just improve it, like drastically change it is what I really should be saying. Because improving your mental health a little bit and then not continuing on that journey, that maintenance journey, will get your subconscious mind to start moving towards what's familiar again, and you're going to start respecting those fearful thoughts, those anxious thoughts again. Next thing you know, you're stuck in the cycle of panic. You're stuck in the cycle of stress, anxiety, worry, and all those what if question marks start popping up again. So what we want to do is we want to start these habits starting today. And I just made a video on YouTube about my symptoms, all the symptoms that I experienced in my life and what I connected them to, what I linked them to, and what I did to start to overcome those symptoms. So head over to YouTube and check that video out, guys. It's truly going to make a difference. But I truly want people to understand out there that you need to start taking your own advice. And what does that mean? That means that honestly, the inspirational quotes on a daily basis are going up like 100-fold. I see people in my friends list on Facebook posting a ton of awesome inspirational quotes, but they're living a life of worry, a life of fear, a life of anxiety, and they're not putting those quotes and the great advice that they might be getting and the education that they are undertaking into practice. So what you preach, you must start to practice. And you must take a good look at some of the things that, that you're trying to do for other people. A lot of times back in the day, there was still this little hole in my life where I was really trying to help other people. I was trying to help my friends. I was trying to help my family. I was trying to help some people online about 5-6 years ago. But at the same time, I wasn't really taking my own advice. There were still some areas where I could have applied some of the techniques, some of the suggestions I was giving to other people, but I wasn't doing. So it's truly important, guys, that you understand that you come first. Before anything, before anybody in this world, you come first. You want to help people? Great. Help yourself first. You want to make a difference online? Great. Start applying some of the education that you're undertaking right now, right? And do it with the end goal in mind. You always have to have your long-term goal, that finish line, that feeling in your mind all the time. You must know where you're going. And that's huge when you start to undertake these habits, because a lot of people start habits, it feels great for a couple days, and then they stop, right? And the reason they stop is because they're not constantly reminded of that end. They're not reminded of, what making $100,000 a year is going to give them. It's going to give them freedom. It's going to give them more time to spend with their family. It's going to give them more opportunities to help underprivileged people. You must have the end goal in mind. And for me, one of the habits I really loved, I fell in love with this habit and it made me feel so good, was the habit of bringing pictures in my wallet. I had a picture of Robin, my fiance. I had a picture of my son in my wallet. I had a picture of my best friend in my wallet. And all these things were the reasons for why I was challenging myself and why I wasn't settling for a life with health anxiety. And when I'm constantly reminded of those people, I felt like I was doing it for them. And that was the fuel that kept me going. So anytime I felt like I was, I ran into a setback and I was getting down on myself and I was starting to play the victim role again, and I was talking about my anxiety, and I was, I was rolling with that identity that I thought I was, right away I stopped and I reminded myself that here's what I need to do and here's why I'm doing it. And that's powerful. It's truly powerful. It's truly the fuel, guys. Understand that life will test you in every way. Life is going to test you. And I was like, wow, my health anxiety, my levels went down from a 10 to a 5 to a 3. And eventually I didn't even give a crap about the symptoms or the fears that I had, of what a headache was. Was it a brain tumor? Was it this? Was it that? But life started to test me more after I lessened my anxiety levels, and that was just a sign that problems, what we think of them as problems, are a sign that you're alive and you need them. You truly need them for your growth. The way you look at something is so huge, and when we look at problems and when we look at them and we go, well, why are these problems happening to me? Why is my life going so in the direction that I don't want it to go? Why can't I just do X, Y, Z? When we start to look at that, when we start to play the victim, we start to move towards a path that doesn't support our true voice. It supports our critical voice. And we must work with our subconscious minds. Our subconscious minds are always trying to look for what's familiar. It goes and it says, hey, deep down, rooted inside, it's saying, have we done this before? Has this situation come up before? And then another part of your mind goes, yep, it has come up before. What have we done? Well, here's what we did. Great, let's do that again. So it moves you towards what's familiar. If, for instance, you started to fear something, you started to fear a situation, your subconscious mind goes, okay, in this situation, we did this and therefore we stayed alive, right? It doesn't care what you felt like. It doesn't care what you thought. All it cares is that it kept you alive. And it will continue to repeat those things. I want you to understand that practice makes perfect. And the problems are a sign that you are alive, and they are a sign that you are growing. So one of the big habits I started to change in my life, guys, was the idea of my checklists. And the checklists I had in my life, and everybody has checklists, if we want to meet that ideal person in our lives and we're at the bar, we have a checklist of what that person needs to do, what the words they need to tell us, how they need to be, the personality traits and such. We have a checklist for that. We have a checklist for when we go to work, how our coworkers treat us, right? We have a checklist. And depending on that checklist, we're either going to make ourselves feel good or we're going to make ourselves feel bad. So everything we do has a checklist. And what I did was I became more open-minded towards my checklist. I said, you know what? Here are the areas of my life that need tweaking, right? They need tweaking. I'm not okay with living a stale life. I'm not okay with living a life of anxiety, living a life only focused on my symptoms, only focused on what might happen. I'm not okay with that. So what I did was I said, okay, in my social life, my checklist is XYZ, right? When I am at dinner with people, people need to treat me a certain way or else I will feel fearful. or I will get anxious and such, right? So what I did was I started to change my checklist. I became more open to the idea that there was another way to think about something. There was another way for me to act upon something. So take a good look at your checklists and see how those are affecting your anxiety levels. Now, the other thing I did was I did a diet switch. And we talk about diet all the time. I mean, you would have to work so bloody hard not to run into something throughout the day that's telling you to, better your diet or to eat this food or to do this or to do that. But I don't want to be that person. All I want to do is tell you that the difference my diet switch made for me. And so what I did was I was eating pizzas, I was eating chips, I was drinking beer. There were so many things I was doing that gave me temporary relief, that gave me temporary zest in my life. When we start to have problems, where's the first place that we tend to go? The fridge. The fridge is the first place we tend to go, or our food cabinets up there to grab that piece of chocolate, whatever it is, to make ourselves feel good just for a small amount of time. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but it doesn't last, as you know. So what I did was, first things first, I ate a breakfast that included some protein. And this was huge because it was really important that I had protein in my diet so that my adrenals could work better. And honestly, when I started to add some protein, just a small scoop of protein. I like the Vega. I love that brand there, guys. They're so holistic. They're so nutritional for you. So Vega was a huge one, and I did it in my smoothies. I put a scoop of Vega in there, and what it did was I was able to handle my stressors throughout the day much, much better. With that came my B complex. I mean, B complex for me was huge. Again, I saw a huge difference in the way I was handling my stress throughout the day. Things that normally bugged me didn't bug me as much. So start with a good breakfast. Eat your complex carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are thought to increase the amount of serotonin in your brain, which has a calming effect. Eat the foods rich in complex carbohydrates, such as whole grains. For example, oatmeal, quinoa, whole grain breads, and whole grain cereals. And try to stay clear of foods that contain simple carbohydrates, such as your sugary foods and your drinks, guys. The other thing I did was I drank plenty of water. Even mild dehydration affected my mood, and it affects your mood too. The other thing I did was I started to pay attention to food sensitivities. In some people, certain foods or food additives can actually cause unpleasant physical reactions. This is huge because so many times we go, well, why did I get anxious there? Well, what did you eat prior to being anxious, right? I mean, for me, it was chocolate, and I kept feeling anxious. I kept feeling stressful. I kept getting anxiety after I ate pieces of chocolate. It was affecting me. I was sensitive to it. So a lot of times we kind of are bewildered by the idea of, why am I experiencing panic right now? I'm just sitting on my couch. Well, pay attention to your food sensitivities. In certain people, these physical reactions may lead to incredible shifts in moods, incredible irritability, or even anxiety disorders, guys. So that's huge. And make sure to try to eat healthy, balanced meals. Balanced meals is the key. This is important for overall physical and mental health. Eat lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, and don't overeat. It's also helpful to actually eat fish that's high in omega-3 fatty acids. These are things such as salmon on a regular basis. These kind of diet switches, guys, made a huge difference in my life. And I stuck to them. In the beginning, I didn't like the taste of them. I wasn't familiar with these foods, but in time, I started to love them. For me, it took 30 days to build a strong, constructive, positive habit, and it's going to be the same for you. Exercise. And I talk about exercise all the time. And guys, the mood boosting benefits of exercise, they occur both immediately after a workout and they continue on in the long term. Like long term, if you want awesome mental health, if you want to feel confident, if you want to feel like your self-esteem is rising on a daily basis and feel like you can take over the world, get moving. Not on New Year's Eve, not on New Year's Day. Get moving now, right? Don't wait till that moment, because that moment will never come. The moment is never going to be right. You're going to feel like crap one day, and that's the time for you to push through and go, you know what? I'm going to take 15 minutes today and just get moving. I'm going to go for that walk. I'm going to start that sport. I'm going to sign up for a yoga session, whatever it may be. Guys, exercise is huge. It's huge. And for me, I kind of separated my days from morning and afternoon and evening. And there were certain things that I did on a daily basis that truly helped me with my mental health. And one of the most powerful things I did, guys, was to start a fresh start journal. A lot of people look at journaling as pain. They go back to their school days and go, well, you know what? I've put in enough work back in school. I don't want to start a journal. Guess what? You have to, right? Because what I did with my Fresh Start journal was I started to put my thoughts to paper as soon as I woke up in the morning. The morning was the worst anxiety time for me. And what I did was I needed a release. Punching the pillow didn't help. Not many things helped me in the morning. Even meditation, I was meditating, but at first I needed to release some of those thoughts. And the best way for me to link release with those anxious thoughts was to put them on paper. So I wrote for 5 minutes straight, and 5 minutes is a long time. It's a long time, I understand. But I didn't even care what I wrote. Anything that came to my mind, I put it onto paper. I just kept going. Next thing you know, once that 5 minutes was over, I felt like I was released from those thoughts. Now I can get into my guided meditation, which I did for 10 minutes during the mornings. But first, you must start with your Fresh Start journal. It's a huge, huge, huge tool for you in the morning, and keep it next to your bed so that when you wake up in the morning and you get those patterns of thought going, you can run to your journal and start to put your thoughts onto paper right away. Like I mentioned, I did my guided meditation followed by 5 minutes of gratitude. I just said, you know what? I need to take this 5 minutes to just feel. I need to feel all the wonderful things that I have in my life that I'm truly not recognizing on a daily basis. They're there, but I'm just not recognizing them enough. I'm not respecting them enough. I'm not thanking them enough. So gratitude, 5 minutes after that. And then what I did after that was I created one small challenge for the day. And a lot of times we start to go, hey, we got to start challenging ourselves. We have to start changing our thought patterns. We have to start working with our subconscious minds and such. But it all can be so overwhelming. And what we must do is just start small. Create one small challenge for the day. You have that coworker that continues to bug you on a daily basis. Fantastic. What can you do to deal with that situation better today? You always run towards, the snack shop across the street during lunch to get those feel-good foods. What can you do to challenge yourself to move towards a healthier eating routine at lunch? So pick one thing and roll with that throughout the day. And that was huge. And the afternoon was a day where I started to just implement some of the things I was doing that I wanted to do, the direction I wanted my life to go. And anytime I felt anxious, I would always do the routine of catching that thought and wondering what kind of evidence I had to support that thought, which usually wasn't much as far as symptoms go and as far as brain tumors and cancer and whatever. I never developed those things, so I had no evidence to support it. Therefore, I didn't care for them anymore. And then I replaced it with an empowering belief something evidence-based. I said, you know what? I'm not going to believe that, but I'm going to believe this. I'm having this headache right now because the environment, it's a new environment. I've never been here before, whatever it may be. And it started to take my mind off of it. I was watching a movie, for instance, a dramatic movie, and I got that lump in the throat feeling. And I said, oh my God, what could that be? Guess what? Catch it. Any evidence? Nope. New evidence-based empowering thought, yes, it's related to the movie, and I just did that cycle. I became conscious about it, and then after some time it became automatic. And in the evening, there was no stimulation 3 hours before bed. And I cannot tell you how important this is, guys. Your body and mind and spirit are always working for your best interest. And they're working for you. Even though you have anxiety, you need to thank that part of you that's trying to keep you safe. You need to work with it. You can't push it aside. You can't go, you know what? I wish I never had anxiety. You need to have a different outlook, right? And when you have that different outlook, that different mindset, things start to change. And if you're stimulated by TV, by other things, if you're going out to the bars and if you're, interacting with people on a high level, whatever it may be, before bedtime, you're going to have a very difficult time sleeping. But not only that, your sleep isn't going to be deep enough to give you the rest you need for the morning and the rest of the day, the next day. So it's truly important that you end the stimulation 3 hours before bedtime and plan it. All of these things need planning, guys. You need structure in your life. You need to become organized. And when you start to do this, it may feel strange after a while. A lot of times, a lot of people go, well, I want to be a carefree person. Well, look where that's getting you, right? Look at the results in your life and check if they're working for you or if they're not. Right? And to be carefree is fantastic, but you still need to be structured. You need to say, what am I going to do in the morning? What am I going to do at lunch? What am I going to do in the evening to further me towards the road I want to stay on? Love you guys. This is episode number 43. Head over to anxietyexit.com, grab the program. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Love you guys. And remember, you are more than anxiety. Bye, guys.
Thanks for being an important part of the Anxiety Guy podcast community. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a positive rate and review. If you're searching for further support on your road to recovery from anxiety, head over to anxietyexit.com and take part in the powerful End the Anxiety program based around the CBT model. If you're searching for a more one-on-one approach, you can sign up now for personal coaching sessions with Dennis via Skype. Remember, you are more than anxiety. See you in the next episode.